What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday to you here at Lombardi Time Brews, recapping Packers versus Ravens, the joint practice that was. And if you were hoping for a more intense, a more lively, a different kind of practice today, then you were in the right place. It was a very eventful joint practice between the Packers and Ravens. Lots of activity going on across the entire field several times. I think actually the entire time, multiple drills going on at once. So really a lot of good football. And it was nice too for the Packers to go against the ones of what is considered to be another contending team. You know, because there were a lot of conversations last week with Denver. Packers didn't exactly get themselves up to the task. Today, they most certainly did. It was a very, very different feel. And I got to say, too, kind of two distinct differences in this practice. One, early on, I put, just to get it out there right away, the player to try again a different day, it was the Jordan Love that we saw in the first half of practice today. Because ultimately, after their first 11-on-11 stuff, I have the exact stats somewhere in here, but Love was 6 of 12, 52 yards, 1 interception. And then it began to change when the Packers went to the red zone. That is then all of a sudden when the offense especially came to life. And then it just never stopped from there. Became a very, very productive day for the offense. So I'm going to give you a full rundown of what all happened, what the big news was, what the highlights were. It's starting right here with the injuries. Now, Matt LaFleur said this morning before practice even began that A.J. Dillon is still awaiting further tests on his shoulder stinger. It is the same injury that he missed the last 3 games with last year. Well, now it's back. He re-injured it in Denver. So Packers still awaiting information there. But also out today, Dillard, Lloyd, Waiga. I did not see Goforth anywhere. I think he was out again. And I did not see Tyler Davis anywhere. I think he was out again as well. And that did open some opportunities for one Henry Pearson to make some nice plays. Then just continuing with the factual stuff. The starting lineups for both sides predominantly the same. Although, again, next to Xavier McKinney at the other safety spot, Javon Bullard got some snaps, as did Evan Williams, both of them making impacts in different ways. Speaking of which, I put him in one of the players of the day. Now that we're going against another team's ones, they're doing their full thing, it is so apparent the impact that Xavier McKinney will have on this defense. It is profound. There was a stream of plays there where it was the Ravens ones against the Packers ones, where it was just play after play was some kind of impact from Xavier McKinney, be it a pass breakup, be it run stops at the line. He was all over today. Very, very, very strong day for Xavier McKinney, and that allowed Bullard and Williams, whichever one was next to him, to continue to make plays. The one in the safety kind of pursuit for this starting job, now that Bullard's really taken it, Anthony Johnson Jr., seemingly the forgotten man in that contest, if you're wondering. Then some interesting lineup notes, too, from special teams. Some interesting guys, and I know we're in 53-man roster prediction season, so if that's your flavor, take note, because during the first string kickoffs happened to be Zane Anderson was present, Christian Welch, Robert Rochelle, Ben Sims, and Grant Dubose. Pretty healthy collective of guys that are not quite sure if they'll be on the roster. We're all with the first team kickoff unit. It does indeed mean something. Then as for the rest of the players of the day, I talked about Xavier McKinney, but how about Kenny Clark? Whether it was red zone, goal line, 2-minute, didn't really matter. Once we got to actual game scenarios, Lamar Jackson was running a lot. And these were not designed runs. This was just him scrambling. And oftentimes the pressure was coming from one of two places, either straight up the middle in the form of Kenny Clark or around the outside in the form of Rashawn Gary. But Kenny Clark, not just pursuing Lamar Jackson, Kenny Clark, I saw a handful of times, actually got in there, got what was called the tackle on Derrick Henry time and time again. Kenny Clark with a very strong performance today. Then also on the Packers offensive side of things, very, very strong day for Jaden Reed today. Multiple large catches. We're talking like 30-plus yard plays. Multiple of those for Jaden Reed today. Even one play that was a contested catch about 30 yards down the field. It looked at first, I saw exactly what Love was trying to do. Reed was basically running like a post down towards the middle of the field, and he looked wide open. And then Love dropped it in the basket. But as soon as the ball actually arrived, Reed was no longer wide open because the safety was there, and he did run straight into Reed. Reed absorbed the contact, held onto the ball, didn't actually get brought down, and finished off the play for a touchdown. Plus then to Tucker Kraft. I know a few of you out there are fantasy people. I got to say, Luke Musgrave, probably still the weapon up the seam, maybe the big play tight end. But if you're looking for one who's going to rack up catch after catch after catch, yeah, look no further than Tucker Kraft. He was truly on several different plays today. Not only Jordan Love's check down, but also oftentimes the intermediate route runner running some variation of slant or in or crosser. And Love found him a lot. This was probably Tucker Kraft's finest day. I know he's had an abbreviated camp, but still ultimately probably his finest day at camp. Definitely. So there you have the players of the day. As for the try-agains another day, the first half, Jordan Love, I recapped the numbers earlier. That was not so good. The offense did take some time warming up today, but then also Newman. I had talked a couple weeks ago about, I think Newman stands a chance to make this roster. They're continuing to use him. He's getting a little bit of play with the ones, et cetera, et cetera. And then it just didn't happen. Like in one-on-ones today, Newman was bowled over multiple times. So let's cover the one-on-ones. Now today, a little bit different because it was Packers versus Ravens. So I don't have the defensive player, and I really, where I was situated, only got to see the Packers O-line versus the Ravens D-line. So keep in mind, ties go to the O-line. Rasheed Walker today wound up going 1 for 3. That was ultimately his total on the day. That one win, though, was absolutely a pancake. He buried a human on that one. Elton Jenkins wound up going 2 for 3 today, also getting a pancake. Josh Myers, 2 for 3 as well. But I got to say, his one loss, bad in every way. It was a bad snap. It was, as soon as the ball was snapped, it was a terrible snap. Then he got bull rushed into oblivion. However, his other 2 reps, he won. So 2 for 3 for Josh Myers. Sean Ryan wound up going 3 for 3 in one-on-ones today. Kadeem Telford, 2 for 4. Lecatus Smith, one of the people know that I've been talking about Lecatus for a while. Earlier on at camp, he was very, very effective in one-on-ones. Today, not so much. 1 of 5. Jacob Monk, 2 of 3. 2 of 3 in one-on-ones today. And then Royce. Yeah, this is why he wound up in the try again another day. Royce wound up being 1 for 3. One of those losses was just real bad. I mean, the ball was snapped, and he got pushed straight back up into the quarterback. You oftentimes see in one-on-ones, you can tell an effective bull rush because it gets the offensive lineman backpedaling, right? But ever so often, there's one that just totally gets to you because the ball is snapped, and it's like the offensive lineman didn't even bother to get their footing. And that was Royce Newman on one of these attempts. Also, Caleb Jones, only 2 for 5 today. I mentioned the other day, it looks like he's the one who's on the outside looking in the tackle 3 competition. He didn't really do himself a lot of favors today, only going 2 for 5 in one-on-ones. And on one of them, the man straight up got spun out of his socks. I mean, the defensive end, whoever it was, did a very effective spin, and Caleb Jones just could not keep up at all. And we know that that's one of the areas he struggles with is more speedy rushers. Guys that can get Caleb to have to expand. He can't just clamp down on him. It worked, and he only went 2 of 5. Then Donovan Jennings, 1 of 2. Luke Tenuta, 1 of 2. And Travis Glover, 1 of 2. That is all the one-on-one reps that I got today. Packers Kingdom, what's up? What's up, Packers Kingdom? And he also said, we was unstoppable today. That is the truth. In the first half, not going to lie, they got us in the first half a little bit. The offense was just slow to go. But then, once they got to red zone, once they got to goal line, the Packers were cooking, especially offensively. Just to put this in a good frame for you, to wrap up practice, there were 6 2-minute drills. And I Yeah, all right, 2 minute, fine. There was a minute and a half left on the clock, 90 seconds. The offense had to drive down 60 yards, and they gave the game scenario if they were down 3 with 1 timeout to go. Each team got 1 crack at it with each of their respective strings, so a grand total of 6, 3 for the Packers, 3 for the Ravens. For the Packers, on their 3 offensive drives, they wound up with 3 game-tying field goals. Carlson hit from 35, Joseph hit from 50, and then Carlson hit from 51. 3 game-tying field goals. The Ravens, on their 3 potential game-winning, game-tying drives, did not score a single time. See, for the first, they got into position for a 59-yard field goal, of which Justin Tucker missed. He wound up short on a 59-yarder. Then the second drive for Baltimore, Josh Johnson threw an interception to Evan Williams. By the way, that's Evan Williams' 5th interception of training camp. 5 for the young rookie. The truth is, like we always talk about best 5 for the offensive line, we may have to start having a real conversation about best 5 for the secondary and whether Evan Williams is a very, very legit part of it. Then for the last one for the Baltimore Threes, turnover on downs. That was it. Green Bay tied the game in all 3 of their scenarios. Baltimore did not in a single one. Connie, hello, Connie. Nice to actually see you at one of these. Thank you so much for being here. All right, so just to give you a flavor, I got a lot of details here for you. The biggest plays of the day for sure, kind of one for each quarterback, really. Pratt had a beautiful rollout to Dubose. I've detailed when Michael Pratt is at his best, is get him in some kind of play-action rollout with layered routes to give him choices. And this was no exception. Pratt took the snap, rolled out to the right. It was a play-action rollout, and he found Grant Dubose streaking to the right-hand sideline, who then had room to run. Wound up being about a 35-yard play. Then, for Sean Clifford, to his credit, Clifford had himself a 40-yard touchdown to Malik Heath on what was assuredly one of Clifford's finest throws of camp. Then, not to be outdone, you had Jordan Love to Jaden Reed, that contested 40-yard touchdown that I talked about earlier. Then just to give you some raw facts before I dive into a real stream of plays. Jeremy, what's up? Hello. Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for being here. Just to give you some raw, pure facts, let's start with the drops. Yeah, I hesitate to really credit this one, especially because Bo knows, but there was one play that Bo probably could have had. It was a very odd play, so it was very early in practice. Sean Clifford takes the snap, and he drops back. Pressure is on. I'm pretty sure it was an off the back foot kind of throw. Clifford gave everything he's got, and it looked like a throw at your shoulder kind of toss from Clifford. Goes about 30 yards down the field, winds up being short of Melton, who's double covered. Melton kind of leaps through the 2 guys covering him, at least gets his hands on the ball, but couldn't complete the catch on the ground. So, yeah, technically speaking, let's give him a drop. Then Dobbs did have a drop as Love was trying to hit him with a slant over the middle of the field. And then there also was a drop by Wicks as well. Then in terms of interceptions, Jordan Love did throw one. I detailed that earlier in the early portion of practice. And then also Evan Williams getting his 5th of practice. Pass breakups. Eric Stokes got himself a pass breakup today. Xavier McKinney had multiple. I got at least 2. I think there might have been more than that. But then also Young, the depth linebacker, he got his hands on one at the very end of practice. Then in terms of sacks, I'm fairly certain if we were counting sacks today, Kenny Clark would have gotten himself, TJ Slayton might have got himself a half one, Rashawn Gary definitely would have gotten one, and then Kingsley Enagbare also definitely would have gotten one if we were tracking sacks. So not kidding. Lamar Jackson was running for his life pretty often when it came to actual game scenarios. And I did see, fully dive onto Twitter, read headlines and everything right after practice, but I at least checked to see if there's any holes in what I'm about to say. And I did see Harbaugh or Jackson, a few on the Ravens side of things, did talk about how the Packers front was a lot to handle. And yeah, no, that tracks. That seems quite accurate. Then in terms of kicking, Alex Hale, the new IPP player, he did not get a kick today. I'll talk about that whole transaction in just a second. But Anders Carlson, he had himself another good day. Anders Carlson wound up going 5 for 5 today. And I've been saying how lately I've been waffling a lot on what exactly this means. Is it going to be Joseph? Is it going to be Carlson? Carlson doesn't look comfortable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Today, Carlson, 5 of 5. And Zach Cruz put it out just a little bit ago. I did see this one. Today he was 5 of 5. Tuesday, 4 of 5. Friday in Denver, 2 of 2. And he's been 3 of 3 in terms of preseason kicks. So Anders is seemingly making the kicks when it's mattering the most. And I got to wonder, that probably has him out front. He now has a better percentage than Joseph across the same number of kicks as well. And Joseph, to his credit, did okay work today. Wound up ultimately going 3 for 4. He hit 2 very early. Then he did miss 1, but then he did hit that 50-yarder in the game scenario to tie up the game. So 3 for 4 for him. He, in terms of across all of camp, he's in about the high 70s percentage-wise. I think about 78%. Anders Carlson in the low 80s, probably about 81%. So it looks like it's Anders' job to be had, no doubt about it. So let me just check my notes super quick here. Yeah, it's about what we got. All right. So then just to give you an idea, an official stream of plays, if you will. Again, these are not in consecutive order. These are plays that as 4 different drills were going on, I was able to look up and be like, ooh, that's a thing. And I wrote it down. So here's just what we got. Wilson up the left sideline, good gain. Dobbs deep broken up, but still a good throw, about 35 yards down the field. Then we got the Prant Dubose rollout, 35 yards. Love to Kraft across the middle, intermediate gain. Jacobs outside run, gain of 5 to 10. Lamar then to Likely. Hopper with the stop, basically as soon as Likely caught the ball. Hopper did get some snaps with the ones today as linebackers continued to rotate on through. Then we had Love under pressure, slant to Dobbs, dropped. Love then to Wilson, sweep for gain of a few yards. If you're wondering about Emmanuel Wilson, keep in mind a few things. One, A.J. Dillon still not practicing with his stinger. Marshawn Lloyd still not practicing with his hamstring injury. So as you're hearing across a multitude of platforms that Emmanuel Wilson got a lot of snaps at the ones today, it's because he did. And maybe part of it is a promotion for his consistency. Maybe part of it is just the fact that they don't really have any other running backs right now besides Josh Jacobs. And then, of course, you get farther down the list with Ellis Merriweather, Nate McCrary, etc. So Emmanuel Wilson really is the de facto number 2 right now because Lloyd and Dillon are out. So you're going to hear a lot of Emmanuel Wilson with the ones. So even going farther than that, Love to Wilson, sweep for a few yard gain. Love to Kraft over the middle. Again, intermediate yard gain. Lamar incomplete. TJ Slayton, pressure up the middle, probable sack. Then Lamar completion to somebody. X immediately making a stop at the line of scrimmage. Then Clifford to Heath, a dot down the sideline, 40-yard touchdown. Then in terms of red zone work, just a continuation of the stream of plays here. Kenny with a run stuff on Derrick Henry, 0-yard gain. Clifford complete, just short of the goal line. Kraft screen to Ellis Merriweather, would have been a touchdown. Then Lamar touchdown. Stokes got Randy Mossed because he did. Stokes was there in coverage on that one, and someone for Baltimore just straight up jumped over Eric Stokes to get that one. Then we have Love, and this is what I'm talking about. This is when the offense began to heat up. Love, touchdown, Josh Jacobs, quick pass. Then Lamar, running back sweep, X again, immediate stop at the line. Love, touchdown to Christian Watson on a 50-50 jump ball. Yeah, boy, if Christian Watson starts converting those more often, look out. Then we had Clifford to McCrary, a few yards up the middle. Pratt to touchdown to Jaden Reed. Then in full 11 on 11s, we had Kenny run stop on Henry, again 0 yards. Kingsley Enagbare, Preston, Rashawn Garrity, combined pressure, probable sack on Lamar. Love to the corner, out to Watson, short, incomplete. Love play action, wide open, Tucker Kraft, 30-yard gain. And then Love to Dobbs, slant, first down. So before I get to the actual 2-minute stuff, let me just check in here. Connie saying, did Morgan practice today? How about Cooper? Yes, indeed. They both did. Neither one did really anything that got their name written down. Jordan Morgan did not do one-on-ones. I can tell you that. Sean Ryan was in with the ones for one-on-ones. Did not see him doing one-on-ones with any string. I do believe, though, because he was in full pads, that he did at least get work in the 11 and 11s. Just don't quite quote me on that, but I believe so. Then for Edgerrin Cooper, He was in full pads. I do believe that he was getting full reps with the 11 and 11s, maybe still limited. I think he got some snaps, let's say that, because they were still pretty rotation heavy with Hopper amongst others, but he was at least active. Can say that. Keep in mind, at these joint practices, on a standard day, you'll see like one drill go on at a time. Sure, maybe position breakouts will be, but like when they go to red zone work, oftentimes it's the whole team huddles around. There's just one thing going on. Now at the joint practices, the twos will be over here, or like the Ravens offense versus the Packers defense. Then over here, you got the Packers offense versus the Ravens defense. And it's so swapping of bodies, so continuous in every direction. Tracking individual personnel gets real tough on these days. So let's just dive into the 2-minute drill before we see if anybody else has anything else. But in terms of the 2 minutes, again, this is down 3, 60 yards to go, 90 seconds on the clock. This is every play that occurred, at least for the Packers offense, for the ones. So Love, read, slant, first down. First down again, Love, incomplete to Reed, massive bodies is what I have written. Second down, Love to Dobbs. This you might hear about this one from other sources. I thought this was a very strange play because Dobbs made an unbelievable catch. The absorbed contact, adjusted midair, because this ball left Jordan Love's hands, and it did so with a wobble. And then as it kind of moved down the air, we're talking 30, 35 yards down the field, as it began to come down in its trajectory, the wobble went from a light wobble to full-on tilting on its way down. The whole trajectory was very off. Dobbs adjusted his route, kind of undercut himself a little bit, as well as the coverage, wound up making the catch for about a 30-yard gain. It was a very, very impressive adjustment for Romeo Dobbs. A much better catch than it was throw in that completion. Then Love to Jacobs, incomplete. Love to Wicks, corner of end zone. This was incomplete. It looked like Wicks kind of had a little hitch at the top of his route. Either way, they were just kind of off. Then Love to Wicks. I have hospital ball written because Wicks is absolutely lit up by the covering safety. I want to say that it was Hamilton. But then we got a 35-yard field goal attempt from Anders Carlson, which did indeed tie it up and was good. Then for the twos, or not for the twos, I'm sorry, for Baltimore's 1 against the Packers' 1 defense. Lamar would be sack. Kenny gets credit. Lamar complete to somebody. Bullard with the immediate tackle. Then Lamar complete inbounds. Lamar check down again. Bullard with the immediate tackle. Lamar small gain to likely Jair with what would have been a tackle, maybe Keyshawn, depending on how they would have credited it. Then a spike. Then first down, they're on the 42, 10 seconds to go. Or second down, I'm sorry. Lamar with a throwaway. Then Tucker, 59-yard field goal try is short. And that is basically the rundown of practice. But I do want to summarize for you. You saw a lot of reports, and granted I wasn't there, of the Packers really struggling in Denver last week. An anemic offense, lackluster performances across the field. And of course, the preseason game seemed to roll right out of that with none of the starters going, 31 people sitting, and just mess, right? It was an awful game. I think we all can agree on that. Spirits were high earlier in the week at Tuesday's practice, and then all of a sudden today, it started slow. But I really do want to emphasize that the Packers offense, especially passing, the Baltimore Ravens are absolutely a better running team than the Green Bay Packers. That was evident. They had much more success running the ball today than the Packers did. And it wasn't just Derrick Henry. Lamar Jackson, I had never seen Lamar Jackson in person before. On TV is one thing, but like in person, holy crap. You see why he is so unbelievably elusive. His feet just move so much faster. And that's a big part of it too. The Packers are continuing to struggle to really find their footing running. But their screen game is getting better. I talked earlier in camp about how their screen game was still awful, like last year. It's beginning to get more effective. Ellis Merriweather had one today. Tucker Kraft had one today. Lots of very strong plays. But on the whole, this Packers offense is a very different one than we saw last week. Even on Tuesday, when there were just flashes of it beginning to click. Today, once they got into red zone, felt so much like the Packers offense has arrived. Now, I will say, I personally will continue on my stance of I hope that the starters do play at least one series. Give a quarter in the preseason against Baltimore. I want to see them in a real game format, even if the game doesn't count, in a game format against Baltimore. Most of the Packers starters on offense have played a whopping 3 snaps together of preseason ball. The defense, not a whole lot more. So it would be my personal preference that for the first quarter on Saturday, we see the starters. I understand why not. I get it 1,000%. But then there's a week off, and then we finally get to September 6th against Philly. There is a layoff after this game. The Packers are in a good situation health-wise. So I understand the argument's not. I still would. Because today felt like a massive step in the right direction. Keep it going and don't let it stall. Connie saying, thank you so much for this awesome coverage of this year's offseason and training camp. Thank you, Connie. Your support has meant a lot. It's been fun. I mean, like, I set the goal this year of, like, I'm going to get to every single training camp practice, go live right after. And indeed, today, I don't want to say it feels like a graduation, but today does very much feel like the last day. It's been a very, very fun month. It's been a very entire life uprooted kind of month. But I'm very, very thankful that a number of you have followed along, whether you've been able to catch it live or thereafter. It's been a great month. If he's here, shout out to Will and Guest Services for taking such good care of Caden and I every single day. Caden Sunia over on TikTok. He does great Packers coverage over on TikTok. He has been a joy to sit with every single day as we've been bouncing stats off of each other, trying to track all of this. So, but really, thank you, all of you out there, for following along through 16 days of camp. It's been a great time. So, all right, unless anybody else has any other questions, that's going to put a wrap on training camp 2024, what is sure to be a very special season of Packers football. If you're wondering what's next around here, on Saturday is going to be just the first half, a watch party. Claudia and I will be there getting the engines going for watch parties. Of course, we're going to do that for nearly every game this year. So please do join us. First half watch party on Saturday. No matter who's playing, we'll be there, at least tracking the Packers. And then on Tuesday, cut down day, you'll probably hear from me on Monday. I got to get out one more 53-man roster prediction before the deadline, right? Like that's my thing. I got to get that out. So maybe be on the lookout for that Sunday, Monday, whenever it can work in my life. And then Tuesday is cut down day, and I'm going to go live with Wisco Fanatics at the cut down deadline, giving our thoughts, roundtable, about what's going on with the Packers cuts, the initial 53. Then on Wednesday of next week, you're going to hear from just me, just my thoughts about the initial 53 and what's going on. Speaking of transactions, I just realized I never even talked about this, so I'm going to talk about it super quick. Kenneth Adumagu, the IPP player, he was released last night. He's obviously no longer with the Packers. He is a fantastic story from Nigeria. We've talked about him before. I know some people in the channel really dedicated to hearing about him. Very much hope that his story in football is not done, but he has been released by the Green Bay Packers. The Packers then designated Alex Hale, kind of their number 3 kicker right now, as their IPP player. The reason for that, I think it's Hale is not your typical IPP player. Let's just say that. But some good gamesmanship here from Goody to get him basically as the 17th guy on the practice squad. You know you're going to carry a kicker on the practice squad, basically to be your backup kicker. Why not have it not count? And that must be the thinking here for Brian Gutekunst, is they'll get the exception or the exemption, whatever you want to call it with semantics, of Alex Hale on practice squad. And then they did also sign today Keontae Shaw, defensive lineman. I did a little bit of reading about him. He's had some success in the USFL. He's local to Madison. This might have been a guy that just see like, hey, come be a body for a day because we got to play the Ravens. Consider this a tryout and just kind of a fill-in right here at the end of camp. So there you go. That's it. Watch party Saturday, Tuesday, Monday, 53-man roster prediction. Tuesday, going after the actual cut down. Wednesday, just my thoughts on the cut down, and then we'll see where the storylines take us. Thank you so much, everyone, sincerely. Thanks for joining me here during training camp. It's been a ball, but it is ultimately time to go. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for the support, as always. And one last time at training camp 2024. Go Pack Go.